Thanks so much for joining us tonight at 5 o'clock. The 2021 Utah State Legislature is over. In 45 days, lawmakers requested 1,216 bills. They considered 767, and more than 500 of those bills passed, Amy.
And this session was different than any other. Fox 13's Ben Winslow has been at Capitol Hill covering it all. He brings us a recap right now of all the things that will affect your life.
It was 1 year ago today, then Governor Gary Herbert issued a state of emergency ahead of COVID-19 arriving in Utah. What a long, strange trip it's been. This was the weirdest session with no crowds and mask mandates, but still, your lawmakers got a lot done. The 2021 legislative session ended a lot like it began, more muted in light of health restrictions brought on by COVID-19. Lawmakers got regular tests and mask mandates were in the building. 5 in the Capitol tested positive at the start of the session, but we had no cases after that. One lawmaker has been out all session in the intensive care unit.
To learn how to walk and swallow and do all those basic things that we take for granted. So I miss you guys, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.
A lot of the legislative session reacted to the COVID-19 pandemic, including a bill negotiated with the governor and Department of Health called the ENDGAME. It lifts restrictions as vaccines increase and cases decline. The mask mandate will be lifted April 10th.
It's much better than it was. The original version of the bill had the mandate ending immediately, and so this was a big push for us. Look, we're vaccinating 25,000 people every day. We want to get through the most vulnerable. We will be through the most vulnerable by April 10th, and so we feel much better about where the bill is right now.
So you're willing to sign it if it goes in?
We would be willing to sign it now. That was one of the pieces that we've been negotiating.
Lawmakers passed about $100 million in tax cuts, including restoring the dependent exemption and removing the tax on military retirement and Social Security income.
We made that happen. It's just a fair thing to do.
The legislature considered dozens of bills on policing in response to Black Lives Matter protests. A number of them change how police use force and put more training in place.
We're overwhelmed, but we're ecstatic because we're getting somewhere.
Republican leaders pushed a major bill asserting more control over the Colorado River and reworking the state's economic engine, and passed a $1 billion bill on infrastructure spending.
If you were to say you could make record investments in public education, provide a tax cut, and at the same time make a big investment in our state parks and our roads, all in the same year at the tail end of a pandemic, I would have told you a year ago you're a little out of your mind.
In a $23 billion budget, education was a big winner, getting a huge boost with hundreds of millions in new money and bonuses to teachers for working in the pandemic.
It needs to happen now. The controversy that's surrounding the community and the university.
A bill that starts a process to change the name of Dixie State University passed after a lot of debate. Lawmakers will vote on a new name next year.
I'm really proud of being able to have the $50 million overall for housing and homelessness. That's a huge win for Utahns.
And the legislature will be back sooner than you think for a special session on federal stimulus money.
I think once we figure out what the federal, what this new stimulus package is, we will have to come back in and determine the disbursement of that.
The next big political battle will be redistricting. The process to create boundaries for Congress, legislature, and school board begins later this year.
Watch for the month of October and the first part of November for the Independent Redistricting Commission and the Legislative Committee to be in the public asking for input once we get the data. We want your input. Please be there for us.
Now, there's a lot more the legislature did, and we've got a recap at fox13now.com. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, of course, some of those bills are contentious. Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson disagrees with the passing of that COVID-19 endgame bill. The bill that passed in the final hours of the 2021 session lifts the statewide mask mandate on April 10th and other health restrictions after Utah meets vaccine and case thresholds. In a statement to Fox 13, the mayor of Utah's largest county says the legislature clearly has a crystal ball I don't have. I expect we want to open and move freely, but wear masks in public to protect our kids until they're fully vaccinated or we reach herd immunity. She added, I continue to follow CDC guidance, and I'm certain April 10th is too soon.
Well, now that the legislature's work is over, Governor Spencer Cox's work really begins. He's got 20 days to review all the bills the legislature passed. He can sign them into law, let them pass into law without his signature, or veto them. Any bill that he vetoes, the legislature then has the ability to override if they have enough votes.